There comes a time in your life where God starts cutting things off, not to punish you, but to position you. And I came here today to tell somebody it's time. Time to stop begging people to love you. Time to stop losing sleep over who walked away. Time to stop breaking yourself just to keep people who were never meant to stay. You keep wondering why you're tired, why your heart is heavy, why your peace is shattered. It's because you keep holding on to what God already told you to let go. This message right here, this ain't for everybody. But if you've been carrying the weight of people, expectations, dead relationships, and trying to prove yourself to folks who don't even see you, then baby, this message is for you. So today I want you to give yourself permission to focus. Focus on healing. Focus on becoming. Focus on you. And let the rest, let them drill, because everybody can't go where you're going. And trust me, if they could, they'd still be here. So lean in, stay with me, cause by the end of this message, something in your life is going to shift. Something's about to break loose. And you're going to walk out of here knowing that your future is too important to be tied to your past. You see, the problem with many of us is that we don't know how to let go. We get so emotionally attached or invested in people that we confuse their presence with our purpose. But let me help you understand something today. Not everyone is meant to stay. I know you love them. I know you prayed for them. I know you had plans, dreams, and hopes wrapped up in that connection, but maybe if they walked away, it's because they weren't assigned to your destiny. You don't need everybody to complete your journey. Sometimes God will allow a person to come into your life to teach you something, to shape you, to shift you, but not to stay with you. They're not your forever, they're your lesson. And if you're so busy trying to resurrect what God already removed, you're going to miss what he's trying to do next. Some of you are asking God to bless you in rooms that are filled with the wrong people. You're praying for increase while holding on to folks who only know how to drain you. It doesn't work like that. God can't bless who you pretend to be, and he can't bless what you refuse to release. There are people who were only meant to be a chapter in your book, not the whole story. Stop trying to write them into pages they were never supposed to be in. You keep turning back the pages of your life trying to find what you lost. But God is saying, I'm writing a new thing. Why are you mourning a goodbye when God is trying to give you a beginning? When people leave, let them leave. Don't chase after them. Don't beg them to come back. Don't compromise your value just to keep someone who never saw it in the first place. If they walked away, they made a decision, and that decision revealed everything you needed to know. People don't walk away from what they truly value. People don't let go of what they're afraid to lose. You've got to understand that rejection is sometimes the greatest blessing in disguise. It feels like heartbreak, but it's really heaven's redirection. If God allowed it, he's going to use it. That betrayal, that abandonment, that heartbreak wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you. But you can't get the lesson if you're still stuck in the loss. Stop standing at the door of someone who already closed it. Stop waiting on an apology that may never come. Stop giving CPR to what God has already declared dead. Let it go. I know it's not easy. I know it hurts. But hear me when I say this, your healing is on the other side of your release. You don't need closure. You don't need an explanation. Sometimes all you need is clarity. And the clarity is this: if they were part of your future, they wouldn't have walked out of your present. The ones who are meant for you, truly meant for you, don't need convincing. You won't have to beg, plead, shrink, or settle to keep them. They'll show up. And they'll stay because they see your value without needing a sales pitch. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you trusted God enough to believe he's got something better. And better doesn't always come in the same package you're used to. Better doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes better starts with being uncomfortable. Sometimes it starts with loneliness. Sometimes it starts with silence. But in that silence, God speaks. In that void, God fills. And in that pain, God restores. You've been walking around with a weight on your chest, carrying memories like chains, thinking if you hold on just a little longer, maybe they'll come back, maybe it'll change. But the truth is, your peace is too expensive to keep putting it on sale for people who don't value it. You've got to stop trying to take everybody with you. Where you're going, not everyone can follow. Some folks were only built for the season you just came out of. And trying to force them into your next season is like trying to wear shoes that no longer fit, they'll only cause pain. Don't be bitter. Don't hold resentment. Don't wish them harm. Just release them with love and move forward with faith, because your destiny is too great, your calling too important, and your assignment too urgent to be tied up trying to fix what's already been finished. Let them go and walk in freedom. Doc, there's a reason you feel heavy. There's a reason you've been tired, frustrated, and restless like you're doing, and you can but still not moving forward. It's not that you're not gifted. It's not that God's hand isn't on your life. It's because you're trying to carry things that were never meant to go with you. You're trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of dead weight. And God is saying you're strong, but I didn't ask you to carry that. You keep asking God for more. More peace, more clarity, more purpose, more blessing, and he's willing to give it. But the problem is your hands are full. You're trying to hold on to relationships that no longer serve your spirit. You're clinging to roles and identities that God already asked you to grow out of. You're wrapped up in proving yourself to people who don't even have the capacity to receive you. And you wonder why you're stuck. You're stuck because you're overloaded. There's a cost to carrying the wrong things. Just because you can carry it doesn't mean you should. You've been strong for everybody else. You've been their counselor, their cheerleader, their support system, but while you've been lifting others, you've been sinking yourself. You're carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You're carrying shame from a past that God already forgave. You're carrying the opinions of people who never knew the real you. And that weight is stopping you from becoming who you're called to be. Sometimes we carry people out of love. But just because you love them doesn't mean you're responsible for their journey. You can't save someone who's determined to stay the same. You can't drag someone into healing when they're comfortable living in dysfunction. You can encourage, you can pray, you can support, but at some point you have to release because your destiny is too important to keep dragging people who only know how to drain. And I know that sounds hard. I know it feels like giving up, but hear me, letting go is not failure. It's faith. It's trusting that God can take care of them without destroying you. You've been trying to be everything for everybody, and it's killing your peace. It's time to step back and say, I can't carry this anymore. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally wise enough to know what's yours and what's not. This weight doesn't just show up in people. Sometimes it's habits, environments, it's mindsets. You keep revisiting the same places that keep you small. You keep entertaining the same thoughts that tell you you're not good enough. You keep sitting in spaces that tolerate you instead of celebrate you. And you wonder why you feel unseen, unheard, and undervalued. It's because you're outgrowing the space, but you're too afraid to leave it. God is not calling you to carry what's comfortable. He's calling you to rise. And to rise, you've got to release. Every time you hold on to what's weighing you down, you're saying no to what's waiting for you ahead. You can't fly carrying bricks. You can't walk in your purpose when your soul is bound by baggage. You've got to get to a place where you start asking yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? Is this feeding my spirit or draining my soul? Because everything you carry either pushes you forward or pulls you back. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is say no. No to the chaos. No to the codependency. No to being the strong one all the time. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to sacrifice your joy to keep everyone else comfortable. There is power in release. There is healing in surrender. There is freedom in finally saying, I choose me. Not in a selfish way, but in a holy way, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't build when you're broken. And you cannot do what you were born to do if you're always carrying what's breaking you. You weren't built to carry bitterness. You weren't created to walk around carrying fear. You weren't called to drag disappointment like a badge. Shake it off. Let it go. Every time you lay down that weight, you get stronger. Every time you release something that no longer belongs to you, you make room for what God is trying to give. It's time to drop the weight. Your next level depends on it. Some of you are sitting in rooms trying to fix what already left. You're wearing yourself out trying to piece together the broken shards of a relationship, a friendship, a connection that's already been buried, and you don't even realize the damage it's doing to your soul. You keep chasing closure, thinking if you could just have one more conversation, one more explanation, maybe it'll make sense. But I came to tell you closure is a trap when it becomes the excuse you use to delay your healing. You think you need answers, but what you really need is peace. And peace doesn't always come through explanation, it comes through release. Some people left and never looked back. Some betrayed you and never apologized. Some ghosted you, lied to you, took your love for granted, and kept moving like you didn't matter. And now you're sitting in the dark asking yourself what you did wrong, what you could have done differently. But let me tell you something, you are not responsible for someone else's inability to value you. Stop looking for closure from people who were never honest with you in the first place. If they couldn't tell the truth when they were in your life, what makes you think they're going to tell it now that they're gone? The truth is, you might never get the apology. You might never get the explanation. You might never hear them say, I'm sorry. But hear me, you don't need it. Because your healing does not depend on their words. Your healing begins the moment you stop waiting and start moving. You keep going back to the same conversation in your mind, reliving the last thing they said, dissecting every message, replaying every moment like if you can just understand it better, you'll hurt a little less. But overthinking won't give you peace. Peace comes when you decide, I don't need to understand it to be free from it. You might not know why they did it. You might never understand why they changed, why they turned on you, why they chose someone else. But even if you never understand, you can still heal. Even if you never get clarity, you can still move on. Some of you are stuck because you're trying to grieve something and chase it at the same time. That's not healing. That's torment. You can't chase someone who's already moved on and expect to find peace in their footsteps. You've got to learn to close the door yourself, wipe your own tears, stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, I deserve better than this. That's when healing begins. You keep thinking, if I can just talk to them, I'll feel better. No, you won't. Because the truth is, you already talked. You already gave your heart. You already offered your love. And they showed you who they were. Stop negotiating with the evidence. Stop asking God to confirm what's already been revealed. You don't need another sign. You need to accept what is and let go of what was. You're trying to find closure in someone else's mouth when God already gave it to you in silence. Their silence is the answer. Their distance is the response. Sometimes the loudest thing a person can say is nothing at all. And if you really listen, you'll hear the truth in what they didn't say. You don't need their words to heal. You need your decision. Healing is not about who left. It's about what you're willing to release. You've got to stop tying your value to someone else's ability to see it. You are not less because they couldn't love you right. You are not broken because they walked away. You are not unworthy because they chose someone else. Their decision does not define you. Their absence is not a reflection of your worth. It's a revelation of theirs. I know you thought they were the one. I know you had plans, dreams, a future you imagined with them. But you can't build your tomorrow on someone who wasn't willing to stand in your today. You're trying to plant roots in soil that was never fertile. Let it go. Stop watering what won't grow. Stop crying over closed doors. What walked away was never meant to stay. And what's coming will never make you beg to be seen. When you stop chasing closure, you make room for healing. When you stop demanding answers, you create space for peace. And peace is not the absence of pain, it's the presence of God in the middle of it. So don't wait for them to come back and explain. Don't wait for them to apologize. Don't wait for them to validate the hurt. Let God do the healing and you do the releasing. You've cried long enough. You've questioned yourself long enough. You've delayed your healing long enough. Today is the day you say, I don't need closure to be whole. You've got to understand something. When God gives you an assignment, when he places purpose on your life, it will always cost you something. And more often than not, that cost is attachment. You're trying to fulfill destiny while holding on to everything familiar. But sometimes the very thing that's holding you back is the comfort of who's standing next to you. Not because they're bad people, not because they don't care about you, but because they were only built for the beginning, not for where you're going next. See, we confuse loyalty with alignment. Just because someone was loyal to you in one season doesn't mean they're aligned with where God is taking you in the next. There are people who were essential for your survival back then, but they will not be necessary for your success now. Some of you are dragging people into chapters they weren't cast for. You're writing roles for folks who were only meant to be in the introduction. And now you're wondering why everything feels stuck, why the dream is delayed, why the vision is clouded. It's because you're trying to carry companionship into a calling that was meant to be walked out alone. I need you to hear me. Your assignment will always require separation. God doesn't elevate you without also requiring that you release. Abraham couldn't step into promise until he left his country, his relatives' father's house. Jesus didn't start his ministry until he went into the wilderness alone. And you think you can carry everybody with you. Baby, this thing is going to cost you some people. You're trying to make it make sense. You're saying, but we've been through so much together. They were there when I was down. They supported me. They knew me when I had nothing. Yes, they did. And that was their purpose for that. But you can't allow your gratitude for the past to become your excuse to compromise your future. Loyalty is beautiful, but not when it blinds you. And some of you are so loyal to people that you're betraying your purpose. You keep saying they helped build me. Yes, but they can't go with you. Some people were only designed to help you get started, not to finish the race. And if you don't learn to discern who's temporary and who's called to be permanent, you'll keep forfeiting your progress for the sake of keeping people who no longer fit. And I'm not talking about being rude. I'm not talking about cutting people off with bitterness. I'm talking about having the spiritual maturity to know when a connection is seasonal, when an assignment has shifted, when a relationship is no longer bearing fruit. God does not prune you to punish you. He prunes you to prepare you. But if you fight the pruning, you'll miss the promise. This thing you're carrying, this vision, this dream, this calling, it's bigger than you. You can't play small to keep people comfortable. You can't shrink your light to fit the places God is calling you out of. And some of you have been holding back because you're afraid that if you grow, they'll feel left behind. You've been dimming your fire, softening your voice, second-guessing your gifts, all because you're trying not to make anyone uncomfortable. But let me tell you, purpose will always make people uncomfortable, especially the ones who have no intention of growing with you. You've got to make a decision. Do I want agreement or assignment? Because sometimes the two don't live in the same place. You're trying to get agreement from people who never had the vision. You're looking for validation from folks who didn't hear what God told you in the midnight hour. Stop explaining what God whispered to people who only operate on noise. Your vision doesn't need everyone's confirmation. It just needs your obedience. There's a moment in every journey where you've got to walk forward, even if it means walking alone. Not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of alignment. Because what God placed in you is too precious to be delayed by indecision. And if you keep choosing attachment over assignment, you'll keep living beneath your calling. Don't stay in Egypt because you're afraid of the wilderness. Don't settle for the familiar when God's trying to lead you to freedom. You've got to trust him enough to believe that even if the road is lonely, it's still leading somewhere greater. You don't have to carry the same crowd to reach the next level. What God has for you doesn't require everyone you started with. And you will never walk into your future while dragging people from your past. So stop trying to make it work. Stop trying to explain yourself. Stop delaying your obedience to preserve a comfort zone. Focus on the assignment and let the attachments go. You keep asking God to do a new thing, but your hands are still full of the old. You're praying for growth while clinging to everything that kept you stuck. You say you want breakthrough, but you're still building your life around people, patterns, and places that God already told you to release. You say you're ready for elevation, but elevation requires space. It requires pruning. It requires room. You cannot step into what's next if you're still holding on to what's finished. Some of you are frustrated not because God isn't moving, but because you won't let go. You're trying to grow in soil that no longer supports your roots. You're trying to stretch in environments that weren't built for your capacity. You can't plant new seeds in a garden full of weeds. You've got to do some clearing first. And that means letting go not just of people, but of expectations, of mindsets, of the way you thought it was supposed to be. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Growth demands change. And change demands surrender. You're asking God to bless your life while refusing to make space in it. God's trying to send the right people, the right opportunities, the right healing, but you're still holding on to relationships that drain you, behaviors that sabotage, thoughts that limit you. You want more, but you're not willing to lose what's less. And I get it, it's not easy. Letting go is hard, especially when you built your identity around what you're releasing. That relationship became your safety net. That job became your worth. That version of yourself became your protection. But the same thing that once covered you is now suffocating you. And God is saying, I've got more, but you've got to trust me enough to make room. You cannot receive what's new while clinging to what's familiar. Sometimes what's familiar isn't even good for you. It's just comfortable. You know how to survive in it. You know how to move in it. But surviving isn't the same as living. And God didn't call you to survival mode. He called you to thrive. But thriving takes risk. It takes faith. It takes the kind of boldness that says, even if it hurts to let go, I trust that what's coming is greater. There are doors God won't open until you close the ones you keep going back to. You've been walking in circles, wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come. But you can't walk into your next while keeping a foot in your last. You're too full, too crowded. You've been praying for peace, but you're still to chaos. You've been asking for clarity, but your mind is still cluttered with confusion. Some of what you're carrying is not yours anymore. It served its purpose. It did what it came to do. And now it's time to release it. There's nothing wrong with outgrowing people. There's nothing wrong with outgrowing conversations. There's nothing wrong with outgrowing habits. That's what growth is. Don't you ever feel guilty for changing. Don't you let anyone shame you for evolving. You've worked too hard, cried too long, come through too much to stay the same. What's ahead of you requires a stronger, wiser, freer version of you, and that version can't carry dead weight. Some people want the growth, but they don't want the pruning. They want the platform, but they don't want the preparation. You can't skip the letting go process and expect to arrive whole. You've got to be willing to walk away from what no longer aligns with your becoming. Because the truth is, not everything can go where you're going. God doesn't just bless, he prepares. And sometimes that preparation means separation. He will strip away what can't sustain the next season. He will empty your hands of what you think you need so he can fill them with what he knows you need. And if you don't learn how to release, you'll miss what he's trying to give. You'll stay stuck in cycles that look like safety, but they're really just distractions. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean dishonoring. It means acknowledging this chapter served me, but it's not my story anymore. It's giving yourself permission to turn the page without needing anyone's approval to do it. And when you do that, when you finally unclench your fists, when you finally breathe and release, you'll realize that what God has next is so much more than what you left behind. You don't have to understand everything to trust him. You don't have to know all the details to take the first step, but you do have to be willing to open your hands, to release, to create space. Because if you keep filling your life with what's familiar, you'll have no room for what's meant to grow you. Let it go. So you can grow. You have to reach a place in your journey where your validation no longer comes from the voices around you, but from the voice within you. Because as long as you need the applause, the acceptance, the affirmation of others to feel secure in who you are, you'll always be one opinion away from insecurity, one rejection away from retreat, one disagreement away from abandoning your destiny. And let me tell you, that is no way to live. You're looking for approval from people who didn't even build you, people who weren't there in the dark places, people who don't know the cost of your oil, people who have no idea how much you've had to push through, crawl through, cry through just to be here. And yet you're still pausing your purpose to get a yes from them. Why? Why are you waiting for people to see in you what God already confirmed? Why are you giving them that power? Let me tell you something. There's freedom no longer needing to be understood. There's peace in knowing you are still chosen, even if they don't choose you. That you are still called, even if they never clap. That your value is intact, even when they don't validate it. Because if you're not careful, you'll spend your life auditioning for roles you already own. And that's not what you were made for. They may not like how you move. They may not agree with how you think. They may not understand why you've changed, why you've grown, why you've walked away from what used to be your normal. And guess what? They don't have to. Your journey doesn't require their permission. Your healing doesn't need their confirmation. You do not have to justify your growth to those who refuse to evolve. Some of why all are shrinking because they're uncomfortable. Dimming your light because they can't handle your shine. Downplaying your vision because it makes others feel insecure. But listen, your light was never meant to make others feel safe in their shadows. You were not designed to be palatable. You were designed to be powerful. And when you finally accept that, you stop explaining yourself to people who were never supposed to understand. Stop asking for permission to be who you already are. Stop waiting for someone to tell you you're enough. You're already enough. Stop rehearsing your worth for people who can't even comprehend the fullness of your gift. You don't need to soften who you are to make others feel comfortable. You don't need to bend your truth to fit into circles that were never shaped for you. You've got to reach a place where your piece is too expensive to put on the clearance rack of public opinion, where your identity is not for negotiation, where your joy no longer hinges on someone else's ability to approve of your becoming. When you understand that you move different, you love different, you build different, because you know who you are, even if they never acknowledge it. And some of you have been stuck not because you're weak, but because you're waiting for someone to see your value, waiting for someone to validate your vision. waiting for someone to give you permission to walk in your anointing. But let me tell you, there are some people who will never celebrate you because they are too intimidated by your becoming. They saw you as broken, and now that you're healing, they don't know where they fit. They were comfortable with the version of you that needed them. But now that you've found your footing, now that you've learned to speak with authority and walk with confidence, they don't recognize you. And that's okay. Let them misunderstand you. Let them question you. Let them whisper doubt or so. You don't owe anyone your truth when they've already